Mr. Chairman, I had several conversations with several different interested parties, and even though the language that you provided us has not passed the Senate, I still like the confirmation part. I understand there has been groups working together to come up with an agreement. So my position would be to adopt your amendment, because I really think that's important, the one that you provided for us personally. Go ahead.
And Mr. Chairman, I've since then, with some input from some other folks, I have an amendment that I think is even cleaner than that one. And if Kyle would pass that out, I think it cleans it up even more than the original one. So if you would agree to that one, then I would be. I think this basically says the same thing, but it's a little cleaner. I believe it does.
Doesn't seem to be as specific to me, but if you have run it by various individuals, Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to balk at what you have presented here.
Yeah, and although I don't disagree, there, the language in the other one, the affiliated with a commercial consumption of wildlife and parks resources, is kind of subjective. This narrows it down, I think.
Okay. And we do want to reinstate the language, which we had some discussion previously regarding the language that puts into statute that the commission, as we had it in Senate Bill 347, the commission is designed to protect the constitutional rights of Kansans in Section 21 of the Bill of Rights as it relates to the right to hunt, fish, and trap, which I don't think that would be a problem for you to write, to put in. And so I'm going to ask that that be put in, Mr. Chairman. And then the gentleman who's serving as vice chair, if you will, had a question of me that I thought, well, that's a valid question. I do not have an answer, so I'm going to ask him to answer his question. And that has to do with the election of the commission board, or just the commission chairman, the chairman of the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was reading on page 2 and E, it says for a term not to exceed 2 years. I guess my question would be, do they have this election at an annual meeting, or is that an annual meeting not to exceed 2 years? I just wondered how that process, how you select that chairmanship works, was my question.
Yeah, from my experience, I'm not sure that it makes any difference, but if it was clean, it would be the first meeting in January or whatever. That's probably, it's usually here in Topeka too, that first meeting for the commission.
Mr. Chairman. So is that when they do that? Mr. Chairman, I mean, in the past, is that first meeting in January, they elect a new chairman?
No, this is new.
This is new.
They have, in the past, the chairman has operated.
As appointment?
Yeah, as the appointment, and he's been there 15, 20 years, and that was kind of one of those things that I didn't think was a very good thing. I mean, it's nice to change chairman. So this is a new amendment, so they've not dealt with this before.
So do you think maybe some wording in there is at the first meeting in January, appoint a new chairman, not to exceed 2 years?
Elect.
Elect out of the.
I think that would be great.
So of staff, as the legislation's written, there's no specific date when the first chairman would be elected? Okay, well, all right. Well, we'll have it all straightened out by the time you get back.
Can you leave your proxy?
Yes, ma'am.
So one of the other things that we need to deal with is, in the original 347, as it came out of Fed and State, we staggered the three of the appointments, because in this bill, I don't believe there's a staggering of the first one. So what would happen is the first three people would be appointed for 2-year terms, and then there would be 4. So that's another thing that we need to address.
So as far as staff is concerned, there is nothing in the language in the amendment that would specify when the commission would first elect a chairman. Is that correct? Even though they are appointed on July the 1st, each appointing authority may appoint a new member to replace a current incumbent, but they wouldn't have to. And I'm not real familiar with the commission. Do they meet on an annual, or do they have a start of a year? For example, the legislature has a start of a fiscal year. But I guess I'm wondering if it would be better or best to put in language a certain date that they elect their first chairman, and then every 2 years on or after that, the first meeting after that date, something to that effect. Did I make myself really confusing sounding?
The way I'm understanding what you're saying is, once this new structure is sort of put in place, they would elect a chairman, and then every second year after that, at the same time, they would elect a new chairman.
That would be the intent, unless, of course, the chair should resign or be removed from the commission. And again, do we need to put clarifying language how they would select a replacement chairman? Or would we leave that up to the commission?
If the committee desired, you could say that if there's a vacancy in the chairmanship, it would be filled in the same way as the original election.
Okay, that's just, I always think as an insurance agent, things happen. Sorry. Okay, we will wait on the House, so we will be in recess until the House returns. So I had asked the question, and I finished my question while you were gone. We did keep the video rolling, and we determined that, I shouldn't say we are going to recommend that we put in a date that the commission will elect their first chairman, because currently there's no specified date. So we will select a date when they will select their first chairman, and then every 2 years after that date. And if there is a vacancy in the chairmanship, the vacancy shall be filled in the same manner in which it was originally filled. And you had said that you had something about staggering the appointments?
Well, I think that's a good idea, at least for the first, it'll only happen that one time, but this, the way this is written now, all 7 will come off at one time. So that's, the original Bill 347 had that in there, that as we passed it out of Fed and state. This bill does not have that.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that is quite correct, because it says on July 1st, 2024, each appointing authority may appoint a new member to replace an incumbent. So my point is, it looks like an appointing authority, governor, speaker, president, attorney general, could delay appointment to just whenever they decide to make a new appointment, or?
Right. So they would have a choice of, they could either just keep the current incumbent in that seat until their term is up, or as of this date, they could appoint a new person, and then that new person would have their own 4-year term. So that in and of itself, I think, would result in staggered terms, unless everyone is already on the exact same term right now, and they're all kept, all the incumbents.
We do not know if they are all on the same term currently. I would presume that they are not, but it might be cleaner, Mr. Chairman, if
I don't think the current commission is on, any kind of a,
I do like the fact of putting language in that we might, if you have a thought on how to stagger it.
yeah, let me look at the original bill. Yes, sir.
I know originally we kind of talked about having the speaker's appointment and also the president of the Senate's appointment be on that 2-year cycle on the first one. But as I'm looking at this, the governor has 3 appointments running for another 2 years. We're looking at another governor. It may be easier to have the governor on that 2-year shift on the first one.
There's the language is in the old bill right there. It was the first, the attorney generals, the president, Senate, and the House Speaker were 2-year terms. The governors were 4-year terms. So the first appointments of those were 2-year terms, and then, of course, they could reappoint them however, but that would stagger the appointments. But I'm certainly open to any kind of a deal that staggers those terms. So if it's the 4 of the governors for 2 years, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I do kind of like that language, and since we've already had it written to where the appointment by the speaker, the appointment by the president, the appointment by the attorney general, the first appointment shall be for 2 years, and then 2 years later, the appointment shall be for a 4-year term. And
Okay, anything else?
I just wanted to be clear because we talked about several different things.
Representative Kessler.
On the proposal that we're talking about today, still gives the governor 4 picks, Region 1, 2, 5, and at-large. Is that correct? And then the speaker appoints Region 3. President selects Region 4, and the AG at-large. Okay, just make sure that's still where we're at.
Mr. Chairman, I think we are right against an agreement or pretty close to having an agreement, so I would ask staff if they don't mind sort of just bringing us all up to speed to make certain we're all on the same page and understand what we've got.
Representative Floyd.
Thank you. I can't remember who was asking about this, but with the July 1st, 2024, they, the way we are setting this up in a new manner, they may remove somebody from the commission and then appoint somebody else, but only on July 1st. So if none do, then that person is the incumbent for the remainder of the term. Is that correct? They can't just up and change this at any time after July 1st.
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay. And then clarification on then for the staggered terms, the governor's appointment would be 4 years. And then the speaker, the Senate president, and the AG would be a 2-year, then a 4-year. Is that correct?
That's how I understood the immediate conversation. Yep.
And there is language in the legislation that each respective appointing authority may remove a commissioner after opportunity for hearing and jumping through all the hoops. So my point is, if they do not appoint a person, would they have the authority at a different time in reference to Representative Hoy's question on another date, not July the 1st, to remove a commissioner after having the commissioner go through the hearing process?
My understanding is if they don't choose on July 1st to remove the current incumbent, then the only way they would have to remove them after that is, whatever's in current law, the current methods of removing your appointees. And then once that incumbent's term is up, then they would be able to appoint a new person.
And I expect the new appointing authority to take that opportunity to appoint a new person. Meaning that, okay, Senators, either one of you have questions on anything before we look at an overview? Senator Fagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thought that I have that we're saying the governor is going to have 4 appointments that will be in 4 years. They've got 4 spots. And I've just, the thought I had was maybe the Senate president does 1 for 4 years, the governor does 2 for 4 years, the House does 1 for 2 years, and the governor does 2 for 2 years. I'm just trying to spread out the idea of the governor having 4 coming all at once, depending on who the governor is. Just a thought.
While I don't disagree with that, I think there's already some agreement about how this is going to work.
Okay.
You good with that? Yeah. Yeah. For everybody.
So are we ready for staff to go over the legislation to make certain we're all have a clear understanding? If you could, Supervisor Lawrence.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, my understanding is that the existing contents of House Bill 2530 would be stricken and replaced with the contents that were contained in the document titled Substitute for Senate Bill number 347. There is the balloon amendment that was handed out at this conference meeting that has the red and blue that would also be included in the language. And then staff has been directed to add language that the committee hasn't seen that would include a reference to the constitutional Bill of Right to hunt and fish. It would also provide a date for the commission to elect the first chairman and then continue to make that election every 2 years after that first date. We would need a date if you would like to provide us one. And then there would also be a sentence added that a vacancy in the chairman position would be filled in the original manner, which would be the election. So just to provide in case there's a vacancy outside of that 2-year cycle. And then we would also add provisions that would stagger the initial appointments so that the governor's 4 appointments, the first time after this goes into effect would be for 4 years, and the 3 other appointments by the Attorney General, the Speaker of the House, and the President, those initial appointments would be for 2 years.
And what do you guys think about the first meeting in January as far as a date for them to elect a chairman? Would
That's fine by me.
I mean, we just don't want to call a meeting on January 1, but they have a meeting in January every year. So what about that?
Would you consider at their first meeting of the calendar year in case they don't meet in January? Would that work?
Yes, that would be right, correct. That's a lot better. Conferees, questions? Representative Kessler, you good?
Perhaps I just missed something along the way, but just to be sure that the early, first thing in the year that when we do the chairmanship doesn't conflict with any of the July 1st timing of some other things. That's 2 separate things. When will this new group actually start? Will it be the beginning of 2025? July 1st? What do we?
It's July 1st, 2024. It starts. So there may be a member that's not elected to chairman until January.
So they function without a chair potentially until,
There's a chair now,
oh, I see, that the existing will
the
continue.
existing chair.
Okay. Unless they get substituted. Okay.
Senator Ware, that is a good point. If the chair, the current chair is replaced by a new member, how would a chair be selected? Would it be appointment by the governor as is current law?
So current law on July 1 would no longer be current law, so that provision wouldn't apply. Although the bill with the language that would provide for the appointment of the chairman in the manner of the original appointment could come into play. You could change the dates if you want to. It could be an issue. I don't know that it will, but the bill doesn't directly speak to it unless.
I wonder if maybe in that language on page 3, that first sentence in subsection E, if you make the agreed changes that you're wanting, considering, the beginning of each, the calendar year language, you would just keep the beginning part of the sentence as it is so that it applies when the bill goes into effect, so that the members of the commission would elect someone as a member, but then you would add in the language about, and then every, at the beginning of each calendar year, every 2 years thereafter, So it would trigger 2 years later after the effective date of this bill, but they could have an initial chairperson that they appoint this summer.
I understand what you're saying. So the initial chairman could be for 2.5 years. But then in January of 2027 would be the first time the commission would select a chair. Well, we could get way into the weeds. I don't know who the current chair is, and
You want to either.
I don't know what region, because if it's from Region 4 or Region 3 currently, they could be replaced on July the 1st by the Speaker or the President.
Correct.
And if it is someone at large, they could be replaced by the Attorney General.
So the governor just appointed the chairman, Whitney Dameron. He's from Topeka here. Oh, yeah.
What district?
Yeah, that's what I was just curious about. Do you know what district you are?
So it may not be a problem, but
Because if it's a governor's appointment, it will be no problem.
well, all are currently governor's appointments.
I know, but one of the four that the governor appoints, at that point in time, it will be a non-event. And so what does the
Do
governor?
you think we're covered, Reviser?
The governor, let's see, one member, Region 5, the governor appoints a member from Region 1. So if Whitney's in Region 1, we're fine.
Right. If he's not, we may not be.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't have my map.
So do you guys have thoughts?
Can we have them start in July instead of the first of the year?
They will start.
Well, but I mean,
Have the chair appointed or elected the first meeting.
It seems to me that we could also just add a replacement mechanism for if a chair leaves or is removed from the commission, because if they stay, it doesn't matter. But even then, if we're setting up a process where the members of the commission elect one member to serve as chairperson at the first meeting of the calendar year, once a term is expired, it maybe just say, and if there is a vacancy in the chair, or set up a mechanism for someone else to step into that role.
didn't we talk, or maybe we didn't, finalize the thing of that if somebody gets removed or, you know, sadly, you know, is unable to continue, then they would be replaced in the same manner, and could that not apply here?
I don't think it does, because that's only if they're on or off the commission, not whether or not they're the chair, not that if there's a vacancy of the chairperson. And since that's no longer a governor appointee, then they have to elect a new chair.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
I think we're good to go, Mr. Chairman. We can, what if for a long time, but we're talking about, as Representative Kessler had mentioned, a short period of time. Once this is in place and it's working, it'll work fairly smooth. It'll work itself out.
You good?
I think you could just put in here, because we're putting on the first meeting of the calendar year, members of the commission elect one commission member. You could put on the first meeting of the calendar year, or upon the vacancy of the chairperson, the position of the chairperson. And then anytime there's a vacancy, they can also hold an election for that.
You understand that? Okay. Yeah, that is cleaner. Appreciate that. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
First meeting following the vacancy of a chairperson. Okay.
Are we good?
I think we're finally good.
Very good.
And all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You may.
I do want to make some comments, because though I mean, I do appreciate that there have been negotiations and compromises. When this came to us over in Fenton State, I received numerous emails, not only from my district, but from across the state, with big concerns from hunters. And I just don't know. I have not had the opportunity in this short amount of time to touch base with all of those folks to see if they're a part of this and okay with this change. I've been, you know, over and over, don't support this bill, don't support this bill. So I'm not sure where I'm going to land on this when it gets to us on the floor, but I do appreciate the good discussion and trying to make sure that we don't leave any vacancies or anything undone on the work, but on behalf of the commission. But just wanted to put that out there, that I do take those concerns seriously.
Thank you for that.
And I will add as well that we've worked out something that I think is a functional plan here, but I think there are concerns underlying the plan that we've worked out, and so I'm not sure how I will vote either on the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I must ask then, are we going to have 6 signatures on the conference committee report?
I don't think we will.
Right, that's fine.
That's fine.
We just need to know if we're going to need to run an agree to disagree. But if we're going to have 6 signatures on the conference committee report, we're good. But if not, we do need to run an agree to disagree. And that does not, I have signed conference committee reports that I did not vote for the conference committee.
Right.
Okay, all right.
And the only thing that I might add to that is this bill is not the original bill that we started out with. This thing has morphed into many, many different shapes. And the original bill came out with 9 members and 2 from the Attorney General, 2 from the Speaker, 2, I mean, so this is not, and I'm not trying to say that people may not have some concerns, but that also the amendment that was put on there to make sure that there was not someone, an outfitter or a controlled shooting area owner. I think it's a totally different bill than we started out with. So I just add that.
All right, well, I think we're good to go. We need to let staff get some work done. It's not even 6 o'clock yet. They've got, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate working with you.